What are affinities, and is there the best one to win all the games? Let's find out now. What's good everybody? It's your boy P-Dog here at Illumination. Today we're gonna talk about affinities. It is basically the nature of every illuvial. We already pulled it up on screen, a little picture here. You can see all the list of all the affinities. So we got air, water, earth, fire, nature. Those are our 5 basics. And then we got mud, steam, magma, poison, bloom, conflagration. Not sure about that one. We got frost, dust, shock, and spore. All those are combinations of the 5 basics. So we got mud, which is a combination of earth and water. We got steam, which is a combination of water and fire. We got magma, it's a combination of earth and fire, and so on. You see all the combinations here on the left side, and what it turns to be out here on the right side. And then we got a quick explanation of all of them. Before we come to that, I want to take a look at the terminology, so we're all talking about the same thing. So right here we got tank, which is in the front line. He can take a lot of damage. Your carry is your main damage dealer, cannot take a lot of damage. Your support to buff, which means enhance your team, or debuff, which means to weaken the enemies. We got our Omega ability. It's the ultimate, it's the spell, whatever you want to call it. It's when your energy, your mana is full. Every illuvial and also the hunter himself, they cast their ultimate ability, their Omega. It reduces the HP, the hit points, the life of the enemy. Then we got the agility, basically dodge chance. We got grit and resolve. So grit is the armor, it's against physical damage, and resolve is the magic resist, ability resistance, it's against Omega damage. Then we got the AoE, it stands for area of effect. It's an ability that hits a large area, like a big tornado engulfing half of the map, hitting a lot of illuvials in turn. So here we got my take on the shortening of the word illuvials, which are the little monsters we catch. I would say illuvials, the short form would be Veals, like Pokemon Mons, but maybe Illus. Let me down in the comments below what you think would be the best short way to say illuvials, or if it's okay to just say the whole word. Then we got the energy damage, or short ED, which is the damage that your ability or your Omega causes. Then we got the auto hits, and that's gonna happen all the time. If a illuvial is in range, your illuvial is gonna hit it with its attack speed, doing attack damage. Depending how much attack damage it has and how much attack speed determines the damage of the auto hits. So let's say it hits 2 times a second with 100 damage, that would be 200 damage a second. Alright, so much for the terminology. I will keep updating that, keep updating you on that, so we're all on the same page and we all have a nicer communication. Let's scroll down to this chart right here. Here we have all the affinities listed, except the double affinities, like 2 times earth is granite, 2 times water is maelstrom, 2 times air is tempest, 2 times fire is inferno, 2 times nature is overgrowth. But those are just double the basic effect, so they're not changing at all. So I just kept them in once and put the picture here twice. And then we got all the combinations down here. So let's jump right into it. Air gets dodge chance. The more airs you get, the more dodge chance your air illuvials get. Water gets energy regen, mana regen. Earth gets grit and resolve. So this is a really good tanky trait. They get more resistances to all the damage that can hit them. Now we got fire. After you cast your ability, you get extra damage on an auto hit. They load up their mana, then they're sent that fireball, and after that the next auto hit does extra damage. Then we got nature. It gets plus health regeneration on a certain amount of HP lost. So for example, if they fall below 70% HP, the nature illuvial is going to regenerate 30%, for example. The reason I didn't put in exact numbers or use the guide with the in-depth description is because this is all going to change. They're going to balance it around, and for us it's important to know the basic rules of it. We don't need to know the exact numbers of it, because they are going to change all the time. So the base affinities, they enhance something of your illuvial. And when we go to the combined affinities down here, those effects that they get in the bases, they keep them in the combined ones. In addition to that, they're gonna get a special ability in the combined affinities. Not all abilities have been leaked yet, but we got a lot of them and we're gonna talk about them all. Now we're jumping to the combined affinities. So let's talk about mud will increase your energy regen from water, and it will increase your grit and resolve from earth. So this is really nice for any tanks that want to cast a lot. Then we get the Steam, which will give you energy regen from the water, and it will give you plus damage on your auto hit after the Omega cast. So this is really good too, because energy regen is gonna let you cast more Omegas, and then you get extra damage after you casted your Omega. We got Magma. The ability has been revealed, and after you cast your Omega, you create an AoE magma field under your Magma Illuvial and under the target. The Magma Illuvial is gonna get extra grid and resolve, and enemy Illuvials will get damage when they stand on this field. A nice AoE damage. So kind of a damage tank. You would have him in the front, casting his ultimate early, so a lot of people are gonna get affected by that AoE damage that he creates. Next up we got Poison Illuvials. They keep their health and mana regen as from their basic traits, but they also get the ability to explode on death. So once they explode, they poison every other enemy Illuvial around them. Every poison Illuvial you get gets extra health regen when they stand next to a poisoned Illuvial. So I interpret that as you gotta have at least two. One that dies early, then poisons everybody, so then your other poison Illuvials get buffed by the poisoned enemies. So in this case, you wouldn't wanna split the damage. You wanna have that poison Illuvial in the front, take all the damage, all the enemy Illuvials around it, and then it explodes, poisons everybody, buffs your team, debuffs the enemy team. It's like a perfect setup. Next up we got Bloom. Bloom is a combination of Earth and Nature. We get the grid and resolve, we get the health regen on the lost HP. The ability has not been leaked yet, but I'm sure it's gonna be something tanky. So this is a really good tank trait as well. Next up we got Conflagration. I hope I said that right. So it is plants and fire. Usually they don't like each other too much, but in this case they team up and they bring some devastating ability to their enemies. Their ability is to debuff their auto hit target after they cast their Omega. So after they cast their ability, the next auto hit is gonna debuff their target. And what that does is that every Illuvial of yours that hits that debuff target is gonna get some health regen, and it's gonna get extra damage on that Illuvial, which is really good. So this is a really good support trait, because as soon as it casts, it's gonna debuff the target and make it die even faster. This will support you carry a lot, because it's a great debuff for an enemy tank, for example, where everybody's hitting this debuff target. If you are playing against Conflagration, you want to split the damage. You want to have a lot of tanks in the front line, so not only one tank is debuffed and everybody hits that debuff target. You want to have a lot of targets, and then one of the fours or one of the three tanks is going to be debuffed, and then it's not such a big impact to Conflagration. But more on that in my positioning guide, right? Really have a look at that. It's an awesome guide. I had great feedback from the community. It helped a lot of people understand auto battlers better, and I'm gonna do an updated version as soon as we got more gameplay footage. Alright, let's jump back into it. Frost is air and water. It keeps the dodge chance and the energy regen. There is no ability leaked yet. We got Dust, which is one of my favorite traits for a tank, because it gives you dodge chance and grid and resolve. So those two in combination will make a hell of a tanky Illuvial. So this is gonna be really strong for the front line. Next up we got the Shock Affinity. They get extra dodge chance, and when they dodge, they're gonna damage their attacker. So this is somebody for the front line who cannot take all the damage, but he's gonna be happy to get attacked, dodge and damage the attacker. Next up is Spore, which is air and nature. They're gonna debuff the damage of the guy who kills them. So if somebody defeats a Spore unit, they're gonna be weakened for a certain amount of time, and as soon as the Spore dodges, it heals. So it's also a very nice tanky trait for the front line. Alright, so let's jump to this here. It's a little graphic I did to sort out where all the traits belong. Of course we got the earth, the air and the dust trait, which is the combined one of those two. We got them right here. Very close to tank. They're meant to be attacked. They want to be in the front line, they want to take damage. Next up we got the carry, which is mainly the fire trait. This is the only one where you get plus damage. Then we got the steam, which is fire plus water. As we said, it's really good to get a lot of abilities cast with a fire Illuvial. Then we got configuration and the support tree, which is the only full support because his ability is to debuff the enemy and make him weaker. Here we got the water. Water is pretty much in the middle. You can use water on a carry, you can use water on a tank, you can use water on a support. It basically depends how important your ability is, how important your Omega really is. If it's all about that Omega, if it's a big stun that will stun the whole enemy team, you want to have as many Omega casts as possible, you need a water on that. We got the poison affinity, which has part of everything. It's a bit of a support, it debuffs the enemies, it's a bit of a carry, it does extra damage, and it's a bit of a tank with that nature affinity in there. I'm sure it's gonna be good to really go deep into poison, to have a lot of poison Illuvials, because they enhance each other. Here we got the shock and the magma, which have the tanky trait, but they bring in the fire to get a bit more damage. So they're gonna be in the middle of tank and carry. They wanna take damage, but not too much. We got nature right here. Nature with earth is gonna be closer to the tank. Nature alone is a bit closer to support because it can be very versatile. So you can do a lot with that. And then we also have water and air right here with frost, which also is a bit more in the middle because air itself is not as tanky as earth, I feel like. And then give it water too, you can have a bit more of a support role for this one. Alright, jumping down to something very important. What affinity is good against which affinity? And which affinity is weak against which one? So I like to have easy stories behind the whole thing so I can remember it a bit easier. For example, water. If you drop water onto earth, it's gonna wash it away, right? Makes sense that water is good against earth. Then you got water against fire. We need no story for that, everybody knows that's good against it. Then we got earth against fire. Of course, if you drop earth on a fire, you're gonna extinguish it, same like water. Then we got earth is good against plant. Same thing, you drop a bucket of earth on a plant, you're gonna bury it and kill it. Then we got plants good against wind. My story behind that is plants, they use oxygen, they use air. So plants consume air, so plants win against air. Same thing for water, plants drink water, so they consume air and water, that's why they're good against them. Then we got air. Air is good against water because air can push water around, it can make waves, it can freeze it when it's cold air, it can vaporize it when it's hot air, so air got full control over water. And air also wins over earth, because as you know, there can be a big mountain, but over years and years and thousands of years of wind blowing onto that mountain, it can carry it away. Erosion, I think, is the word for it. So wind can definitely win over earth, just take some time. One more thing we didn't mention, fire is good against air, same principle as the plant. As you know, fire kind of uses air as fuel, so it burns the air to keep the flame burning, so that's why fire is good against air. It takes a bit more than looking up a chart, but at one point we're all gonna get so used to it and so good at it that we know all the different ones if we remember the base affinities. That's where it all comes from, I think. Please give me a thumbs up, give me a like, hit that subscribe button and help me grow this channel so I can bring you more quality content for Illuvium. Alright, this wraps up today's video. I hope you had some great fun watching and learning with me together all those infinities there are. Thank you so much for joining in, and I will see you in the next one. Peace. Blah.